Welcome on into the day game edition here of First Pitch. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, here on WagerTalk TV. Me and my guests breaking down the Braves and Pirates, the Blue Jays and Guardians game, Houston visiting the Orioles, the Marlins taking on the Reds, LA Dodgers against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And we got a hitter prop for you in the Cubs and Mets game. If you love what we do here on First Pitch, all you got to do, hit that like button and hit a subscribe so you never miss any of the great shows here on Wager Talk TV, especially with football right around the corner. You don't want to miss anything. And you definitely don't want to miss the guys I got on today, Jeff Michaels, Steve Merril, and Jimmy Adams. Let's get right into it. Start off with the Dodgers and D-backs with my man, Jeff Michaels. What do you got, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm excited. I liked what this Arizona team actually did at the trade deadline, but there's no comparison here between what the Dodgers have done and what Arizona has done in the month of August. I mean, Arizona is the only team in baseball that hasn't recorded a win right now. The Dodgers are hitting almost 100 points higher in the last 7 games. Their on base percentage is over 100 points higher. And, to put it into perspective, I looked at it this way: in 100 at bats, the Dodgers are getting 32 hits. Arizona is only getting on base 28 out of 100 times. That includes, hit by pitch and walks. So we're not even talking about just getting hits. LA is hitting the ball 4 times out of 100 more than Arizona is even getting on base over the last 7 days here. And the Dodgers have scored more runs in the last 15 innings than Arizona has all month. I mean, the Dodgers have put up 18 runs in the last 15 innings, and Arizona's only put up 15 runs this month, and 4 of them were yesterday. So there's obviously been some offensive struggles there. Merrill Kelly has struggled immensely against this Dodgers team. He's 0-10 with a 5.7 ERA, and his team is just 2-12 in those starts. I mean, he's been blasted by Mookie and Freddie. Will Smith has a home run. Max Muncy has a home run. I mean, even Miguel Rojas has a home run off of him. So you got a lot of guys that have success off of Merrill Kelly here, but I'm excited to see if they can turn it around, because I really thought Arizona had a shot with some of those trade deadline acquisitions that they had. But while small, I thought that they would be effective. Obviously, they haven't quite played out yet, but I'm looking towards the Dodgers tonight for my big game breakdown here.
All right, backing my new LA Dodgers. What do you guys think? Let us know in the chat. You agree? You disagree? What are you going to be betting in Dodgers and D-backs? And let's swing it on to my man, Steve Merrill. He's got a big game breakdown in the Braves and Pirates series. What do we got, Steve?
Going to look at the Braves and Pirates third game out of this 4-game series in Pittsburgh. And, Pittsburgh stole game one as a big dog on Monday night, and everybody kind of thought the Braves were in a good bounce back spot on Tuesday. But if you had the Braves, you had to sweat it, as it was never in doubt. 8-6 win. In fact, they did lead 1-0 early in the game and then trailed the rest of the way. Ronald Acuna Jr. gets popped in the elbow in the 6th inning with a 97-mile-per-hour fastball. It clipped the elbow pad, but he did lead the game, so we've got to check his status going forward. With that said, though, maybe that was the rallying call for the Braves, because they're down 6-5 in the 9th inning. They put up 3 in the top of the ninth, end up winning 8-6, and I do think they carry that momentum into this game on Wednesday against the Pirates, who are still one of the worst teams in the league. Pittsburgh got off to a surprisingly really good start first month and a half of the season, but they've actually been as bad as anybody in the National League since. They've basically been on a pace to be a 100-loss team since that hot start, if you factor out that first random month. And I have no problem playing what I think is not only the best team in the National League, but maybe the best team in baseball right now, the Atlanta Braves, in a focused spot with Max Fried, one of the best pitchers in baseball, on the mound. Now, obviously, I'm not going to recommend playing minus 270, minus 280, whatever this closes at on the money line. But the run line gets it down to about minus 170 range. And I think that's more than reasonable here. And this should be a a 2-run or more win for Atlanta. And once again, I do think that was kind of the buy sign with them coming from behind in the 9th inning last night on Tuesday. And with Acuna getting clipped I think there'll be extra focus in this game. So we obviously get the much better team, the much better offense, the better bullpen. And Fried's definitely the better starter. I mean, he's great. 1.69 ERA, 0.97 whip. And then Quinn Priester's made 4 starts this year, an awful 8.7 ERA, 1.78 whip. Not going to lay the big juice on the money line, but the run line is very reasonable. I have no problem laying the run and a half in this game at minus 165, minus 170. Atlanta Braves, you know, I would have played this one on Wednesday night at 7 Eastern.
Check out stevewt.buzz/SM. Jimmy Adams time, and he wants to take a look at the Astros and the Orioles. Jimmy, how are we going to be betting this one?
Both teams, look, they enter playing good baseball, particularly the Orioles, who had won 4 straight games entering this series. Game 1 results currently unknown as this is recorded, but they've been hot. And look, if you've watched Christian Javier lately, you know that his last few starts, he just hasn't been quite right. He's come out relatively unscathed, but there are some concerning signs in his pitching profile moving forward, particularly his barrel percentage, which ranks in the 12th percentile. And Javier's a fly ball pitcher, so giving up a lot of hard contact is going to come back to haunt him. He's just one of those guys. He's not going to blow you away with velocity. He's not done a great job with his command, and he's going to live and die by the fly ball. And when he's giving up that hard contact, it's a major problem, especially against an Orioles squad that's been swinging the bats particularly well. Look, Jack Flaherty, he's got a new lease on life. He's playing for a contender now, and he sure pitched like it in his first start with the O's. Just 1 run on 4 hits over 6 innings against the Blue Jays in his debut. And unlike Javier, Flaherty doesn't give up many barrels, and he has a low hard hit percentage. So looking at those concerning signs, Flaherty does a great job of, limiting that hard contact, and he also doesn't walk many batters. So Houston's going to have to earn any runs that they may score today. We all know Baltimore has an extremely strong bullpen. I feel pretty comfortable laying the small chalk here and backing the Orioles. O's over Astros for today's big game breakdown.
We got a hitting prop here in the Cubs and Mets game. Jeff, where are you eyeing in this one?
I talked about it a little bit, guys, big game in my big game breakdown, but since the All-Star break and since the trade deadline, Cody Bellinger has been one of the hottest players individually. I talked about those Dodgers as a whole back there and Arizona struggling, but you want to talk about one player making a difference. Cody Bellinger has been that man since the All-Star break and really on the season. He looks like he's putting up numbers like he did in 2019 with his big Dodgers year. I mean, the most impressive thing that I found is, my dad and I will be 2 of the first to tell you that trends and angles that we looked at or always look at are going to be more of a supporting number. They're going to support what you already like, or they're going to kind of talk you out of something that you may be leaning towards. But all in all, they're not going to make or break a play in themselves. But looking at individual trends for me, they do have a little more standing because, you're taking out a lot of those variables. And Cody Bellinger against non-divisional left-handed pitchers, so outside of that NL Central division, 14-0 in the last 14 games against left-handed pitchers, going over his 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI number. And he's got David Peterson on the mound for the Mets tonight, so I think he does it again. 14 straight, and it's only happened, they've only had this happen 15 times this year, so he's gone over in 14 out of 15 of the opportunities, and 14 consecutive, as I mentioned. In those games, he's averaging over 3.5 hits, runs, and RBIs per game. And right now we're sitting at 1.5. You are laying some juice, minus 135. It might be, I think I saw 140 at the most recent number for myself. But he's got 23 hits in those 14 games. He's got a 426 batting average. Scored 18 runs, has scored in 13 out of 14 of those games, and recorded 9 RBIs. So 9 RBIs, 18 runs, and 23 hits. He is by far well, I shouldn't say by far, excuse me. He is number one in hits, runs, and RBIs since the All-Star break. He's got 84, one ahead of Cody Bellinger, but those two are well ahead of the competition because third and fourth on that list are the Atlanta Braves duo of Matt Olson and Austin Riley, who have 68 and 66. So Freddie Freeman in second has 83. So they're sitting with like 15 hits, runs, and RBI lead there. And Cody Bellinger, like I said, has been dominant. And I think that Candelario trade at the deadline does help him because it takes some of those eyes off of him in that lineup. It takes that target off of him. So I'm really looking at Cody Bellinger, and I'm going to keep riding this train until it breaks, basically. It's hit 14 straight times. Look at him against lefties in non-divisional games. It happens tonight, and I like him over that 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs tonight. No question.
And from an over on Cody Bellinger, we're going to be going to a potential under in our next matchup. It's Blue Jays and Guardians. What are you thinking here, Steve?
Let's look at a free play for Wednesday night baseball at 7 Eastern in the American League. We're going to take under the total between the Blue Jays and Guardians. 1-0 game yesterday on Tuesday night. So obviously these teams are not in good current form offensively. And it was a misleading 1-0 loss for the Blue Jays. They actually out-hit the Guardians 9-3. But Toronto's still not in great offensive form as they've hit this road trip. After playing in Boston, they put up double-digit hits in all 3 games against the Red Sox. And then they opened with just 5 hits on Monday night, 3 runs. And then, of course, getting shut out last night. Did have 9 hits, but still single-digit hits in back-to-back games, just 3 total runs. But the bigger reason for the under is Cleveland and the fact that Cleveland is at home in this game. Guardians are now 37-19 under the total in all home games this season. Have not been getting it done offensively. They squeak out that lucky 1-0 win once again last night with only 3 hits. And keep in mind that 3-1 loss on Monday, they had only 5 hits. In fact, Cleveland's now had single-digit hits in 11 straight games going back the past couple weeks. And I see nothing changing in this one tonight on Wednesday. Gaussman on the mound, actually having a decent season. He's not gas can anymore. He is Gaussman once again. 3.2 ERA and a very solid 1.17 whip in his 22 team starts this season. And Allen's been okay for Cleveland. 3.7 ERA and a decent 1.37 whip. So both offenses, especially the Guardians, in mediocre to poor current form. 2 decent starters on the mound. Look for a low-scoring game once again in Cleveland tonight on Wednesday at 7 Eastern. Blue Jays Guardians under 8 minus 115. And don't forget my official best bets for Wednesday night available right now on my page, WagerTalk.com, Steve Merrill. And don't forget to check out a fantastic offer. Buy 2 months and get a month for free. That gets you not only baseball, a couple months of football, but even the start of basketball 3 months from now. So once again, buy 2 months. You're getting a 3rd month for free. Works out to just $6.50 a day. No promo code needed. All sports special right now. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
The under minus 115, where my man Steve Merrill is looking. What do we think? Agree? Disagree? Maybe ISO in on a team total? Let us know in the chat how you're going to be betting that one. And Jimmy Adams going to get the last say of the day here. Cincinnati, Miami. What does our man Jimmy Adams think?
All right, so we're going to get into today's best bets, but I just want to talk real quick. I do have a 5% play up and available. Baseball has just been running really hot in general. We've hit 3 of our past 4 5%ers, and I'll have an accurate overall record for you in the on my page when you see this. But hitting 4% and higher, I think at a 4 or 5-0 clip when you see this, but definitely get involved with that. This is another play that'll be on my card, though, and it is going to be the Cincinnati Reds as we go to the Great American Ballpark as the Reds and Marlins wrap up their series. Both teams are obviously really struggling right now. Look, the Reds try to remain in contention for the NL Central and as they're falling back, and Miami's trying to keep pace and keep their wild card hopes alive. Johnny Cueto, he's a pitcher we can only look to fade at this point in his career. He's thrown in 5 games this season. Miami's lost all of them. Cueto's given up 8 earned runs in his past 2 starts with 3 home runs and limited strikeouts. His FIP of 5.54 is slightly higher than his already poor ERA. But Cueto's a guy that's just at the tail end of his career. He just doesn't have it anymore if you watch him pitch. Meanwhile, Graham Ashcraft has refound his success in a large enough sample size to make him a bet-on pitcher. 2 runs or fewer in 6 of his last 7 starts, and in the other one he gave up 3. So that was his last start against the Natties, where he went 8 innings, giving up 3. And if you look at his overall numbers, they don't look that great, but that's because Ashcraft went a while in the middle of the year where he struggled. But like I said, we've got 7 quality straight starts under our belt now, so we can feel pretty confident that this flamethrower's got his stuff back and he's ready to go. We do know that Great Ballpark is very hitter friendly, so with a substantial starting pitching edge here, we can expect Cincy to take the final game of this series. The price is right. Take the Reds for today's best bet.
And that is going to do it for us here on the Day Game Edition. We appreciate you tuning in. If you appreciate us, just hit that like button, hit a little bell. You'll never miss any of the great content here. And speaking of which, more content just a click away here at WagerTalk TV. Don't go anywhere.